Hey, this is Jen with Conscious Web Presence. I am showing you the dashboard of our website editor. I want to look at this template for Mr. Locksmith. So first I'm going to open preview and just show you this website. It's a one-page website. Each menu item will drop to a different section. In this video, I'm just going to show you the dashboard. And in some of the first steps that I would recommend when I'm starting a new website. So if this is grayed out, you're in preview mode. On the left-hand side, the three bars, the two main things to know here is backing up your website. It will auto-save your website, but you can give it a new name when it's particularly something that you want to have a backup of, and then click save. If you do want to change your template, know that once you change your template, you're starting over on all of your content. It will not keep your content when you change it. So start with a template that you want to continue to use. Here we have the backspace button or forward space, the preview button. So if I click preview here, it's just going to gray out the editor and I can preview different pages, the tablet and cell phone version of the website. If I click open preview, it's going to open up the website here as though it's a live website, even though at this point it is not live. So if it's grayed out, I'll click this. Then over here, I have another way to view the desktop, tablet, and cell phone in the editor. So usually when I'm editing a website, I'll edit everything that I want in the desktop version. And then when that's complete, I'll go in and I'll scroll through and I might make some changes. Like maybe I don't want this hidden, then I'll click on this element and I'll go to style. It says visible. So that means that I'm not in the right container. So I'm going to click on a different container, style, and it doesn't say visible. So if I want it visible, then I would click that. So one of the elements that's really helpful when looking for which container you want to connect with is this Navigator button, and I'll get to that soon. But just know that your first step is going to be working on the desktop version, and then afterwards you're going to want to scroll through and make changes to both the cell phone and the tablet version so that it's the right layout for the content that you've added. Next, I'll go to design, where you can change the text, colors, buttons. Don't change too much of the layout, and the store is like a completely different edition. There's e-commerce is not built into this editor, but they do have a way of adding it if you do want to add e-commerce. But to start, this is a simple website and it does not start with e-commerce elements. So that's in design. And then here you'll click on headlines and you'll be able to change colors and font and each of these elements that you might want. So it's good to have like your layout picked out first. You can always change things in the editor, but it's nice to have like a basic setup because let's say you want to change orange to a different color. If all of these are connected to your main colors, you can change it all at once. Whereas if you change it here, then it gets a little bit sloppy. So it's better to set yourself up with colors that you like. It's also better to set yourself up with like in a template, dark colors should stay dark, light colors should stay light. So I wouldn't change the white to black and the black to white because if you do, you've just added a lot of work. Like you can do that, but you've added a lot of work. And then in like how things might be layered, for example, buttons might all need to be changed. They might become invisible because they blend in with a color. So it's just nice to keep that in mind for ease. Keep dark colors dark, light colors light when choosing these elements. Okay, so then here we have pages. And then usually when I start a new website, I'll go into the home page, which if I click on the gear icon, there's no URL slug. That's the home page. I usually will make a copy of that page. So first you copy and then change the name, and I'll say template. Well, I'll double click on the name and then say save and open. And then just be patient. I'll exit out of this menu option, and now you can see the start page is open and I'm in tablet version. So I'm going to go to the desktop version, and template is open and start. So now I can like make changes to my home page, but I always have the original template here. So like, let's say I delete something and I want to revert back to it for a future page, at least I have all those design elements in template. The other thing I'll do is I'll go into the gear icon and I'll say no index, and that will keep the template page from being shown on the internet. So now, and you can see that there's a red eye there. I'll save that. With each page, you'll want to go into the gear icon, and the home page will not have a URL slug, but each of the other ones will. And you can change the slug, the SEO title, the SEO description, and add your keywords. Every page should have one main keyword, which is in an H1 header tag, and all the other keywords can be in subheadings. But you should have one H1 header per page. That's like the main theme of what that page is about. So that's it for pages for now. The navigator here is really useful in the sense that like sometimes the way websites are, there's like containers within containers for editing. And so like, for example, if I click on this container and I want to change the background image, and there's no background image because I'm technically like that blue box is a container within the container that says banner. And this image here shows me that that's the background image. So I could go here and now change the background image. I'm going to close that menu option. Another way that I might get to that is to go Navigator, and then I can see here there's a background image, and then I'll double click it, and then I can change that background image. So anywhere where you see that is a background image that you can change. So you don't have to like be like, which container do I click on? Like, for example, this image is a background image. You could also have like no image as a background. So I could click on that container and say none. And then I could say add elements and image. And then you have stock photos here you can choose from, or you can upload an image. So images can be uploaded either in a container or as a background image. So I'm going to go ahead and click backspace for that. So that's the navigator. The part here, the info bar, in order to change the phone number, the location, email, you would go to more, website settings, and then change the website name, add a logo. The favicon is like what shows up in the header here. So like that SJ is a favicon. The S here is a favicon. The preview image would be an image that shows up if someone sends your website. So like you want that to be a website that is really important because it's the first thing people see if someone shares your website. You'll go into data and change all of this information to what you would want showing up here in the information bar. And then go into SEO meta and change this. My website is what shows up at the top here. 24/7 locksmith services is how you change this. And then obviously change the keywords and the SEO description. And I would do that both in website settings and in pages on each page for your website. As far as like pages, this gets into a little bit too much information, but you do want keywords in the SEO description to be tailored to each page in your website. If you just repeat it on every page, it makes your website look not as reputable. So you want to make your website look as reputable as possible by having that information tailored specifically towards each page. And like part of that would be like these key, like these header tags, having them like each page should have one H1. So this is an H1. And whatever this is should be like your main keyword. And then all of your other H2, H3, they should be supportive keywords, you know, saying what your website is about. But this says, this is going to say what the main thing is that you want people searching for that page. And then each other one would be supporting it with this other content. The other thing you want is to like name images. So like if I go to this background image and I name this trusted locksmith in Philadelphia, PA, you know, like image of breaking in a lock in Philadelphia, PA, something like that. You know, like that's going to say, you want it to say what the website is. You also want it to have keywords. You kind of have to like dance a little bit of a line because you can't name everything the same thing. It really should be about what the image is, but the more you can also integrate keywords into your image names, the better. And then also like whenever you have an image and you say alternative text, you would want to type that in to describe the image, you know, and image caption. So that would also help with like the SEO part of building your website. So just some things to kind of help you get started. Like from there, now you know like how to find containers. You just double click on them to open up the editor on this side. And then like know that there's containers inside of containers. Any element that you want to change, when you click on it, it's going to open up the menu option on the left to make changes to either like the layout. If you want to make something invisible or visible, you would use this. That would make it not show up on the desktop. Maybe you want it to show up on the cell phone, but not the desktop. That's that feature. If you want to change the color of a box. So I clicked on that and then background, and then I could change the orange to brown. So now, for example, if you want to change a picture, like here's a background image. So I'll double click on that and then say background. And then we do have stock photos that you can pick from, or you can upload a picture. For images like in here, these you want to be all the same size. So whenever you upload those images, it's better to just resize them all. So like maybe they're all like 200 by 80. For things like that, it makes it easier. So now on the left-hand side are all the elements for being able to drop new elements into the web page. So like you might go into elements and then say, like you could drop in an audio file. So like, for example, if I wanted to drop in like an image here, I might go here, click on image, and then bring it over. And you can see like the green line kind of shows where you're bringing it. If I want to move it, I could click on it and drag it up. I could also go to the Navigator and then move it that way. For example, holding here. Or I could drag it to a different container. And I go back, back. image, select file, stock photo, insert. Now that image is there. I'm going to save it. I'm going to reload the page because it didn't show up. There we go. I would like to resize it. So I'm going to go here and say maybe pixels 200. And then maybe I'll go here and say crop. And then I'll lower it like this. So that's kind of dropping in an image, for example. Let's see. So yes, like play with all these different things of being able to drop something in, know that you can move it around. You can also move it through the navigator. And then there's just different elements that you would be dropping in that you can visually see over here, kind of like what it is. Just keep in mind, like dropping them into the containers, like where you're dropping them in. Don't move things so quickly. Like if something's loading, let it load. Otherwise, there could be errors. Like you don't want to take a menu item or a header item and like move too quickly with like header items, because that can cause it to like just get conflicted. So if it's loading, let it load. If you don't see it, refresh the page. And let's see, anything else I can go over? Something that's really helpful, like for example, when you're making like multiple pages, like let's say I want an about page. So I'll go to new page. It just opened up here. I'll say about, name. I'll click here, save and open. You also don't want to create pages and not save and open them. Like you want to take that time. Like sometimes people are making they'll like make 4 pages really quickly, and you really want to make a page, save and open it, let the page load. Otherwise you're moving quicker than what its processing is. So I'm going to get out of tablet mode. And like, just know that like, for example, if this is an element that I want on lots of pages, I'll click on the container, make sure I'm in the right container. So I'll go over to Navigator. I'll click on this preset here because I want all the elements of this whole preset. And then I'll say right click, create reference. And now there should be 2 of the same thing. And one is a preset and the other says reference. And now I'm going to right click and cut. And then I'll go to the next page and I'll right click the container. And I'm going to paste it. So now it says reference, but that means that when I want to make changes to this element, all I have to do is make changes on the home page. So the footer and the header here, your menu bar, those are 2 elements that you'd likely want the same on all of your pages. So those elements you would just keep the same on the home page and then make a reference to it and then move it to each other page. So those are my tips for today for getting started with using the editor and editing this website. Please reach out to me if you have any questions.